Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome in to a Sunday morning edition of the show. Sunday, March 2nd, the NFL Combine rolls on. We are in the final day here of on-field work, and we're going to get to see those offensive linemen. Maybe some offensive linemen that could be protecting Trevor Lawrence, paving the way for Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, maybe a young running back the Jaguars could add. We saw the running backs, cornerbacks, and receivers take the field yesterday. We will talk about all of that. Right now, I wanted to focus specifically on the receivers. I was not surprised by a lot that we saw overall from the receiving group, on-field workouts, and testing, which is a good thing because I'm a lot higher on this receiving class than some are. I think this receiving class is fantastic. And you look at what the Jaguars currently need at receiver based on their current roster construction. What do they need? For 2025, I mean, right now they have their wide receiver one, Brian Thomas Jr. They have Christian Kirk under contract still. They're starting slot receiver. Obviously, Evan Ingram, pseudo tight end / receiver. And Gabe Davis on the outside as well. You have nice depth in Parker Washington, Devin Duvernay. But, big caveat, the Jaguars could save a lot of money by moving on from Christian Kirk, who has been injured the last 2 years. The Jaguars could save a lot of money by moving on from Evan Ingram. The Jaguars can't move on from Gabe Davis before 2025 unless they just want to eat all the dead money and not save any cash. But looking beyond 2025, Christian Kirk probably going to be his last year in Jacksonville unless they work out a new deal as a much cheaper deal for a starting slot. Evan Ingram could be his last year in Jax. I would almost guarantee it will be Gabe Davis's last year in Jax. So you look at the wide receiver position as it's currently constructed, you could say there's not really an obvious need other than needing to upgrade the outside receiver where Gabe Davis is. That's an obvious need, I think. But you look at 2026, you could have multiple needs, big needs. So I do think the Jaguars need to prioritize coming away with a starting receiver from this draft. And they don't have to start in year one necessarily, but they need a long-term starting receiver. I really do think that. And now, does that mean they have to take one in the first round? No. We did not see Tet McMillan out there running around testing, right? But we saw a lot of other guys. I think this receiver class wanted to come in and compete. I think the narrative on a lot of these guys maybe doesn't really match up with what you've seen from them on the field. So we're going to dive into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Wide receiver, I have to be honest, it's my favorite position. It is. As much as, and I'm a huge proponent of drafting the big boys early. I think the Jaguars, the way things currently look, I would probably draft Mason Graham at 5 overall. And the picture is not 100% painted yet. Everybody's talking about Mason Graham coming in at 296. Go look at him play. He did not play at 296. He was playing well above 300 pounds. Feel confident in saying that. So I think that's a guy that's been training for the pro day. And obviously he didn't participate at the combine. But let's look at these receivers. Matthew Golden, 4.29 40-yard dash. Unbelievably fast. I mean, that's faster than I expected. I expected high 4.3s, low 4.4s. 4.29 is blazing. And that was the fastest receiver out there. That was the only testing that Matthew Golden did. And we know Matthew Golden is smooth. He can control his speed really well, which is one of the reasons it's so funny. Like, guys that run in the 4.29s usually are not great at throttling up and down. Matthew Golden absolutely is. And he can adjust to the football well down the field. He can run routes crisp. I'm impressed. 5'11", 191. He's not the biggest guy, but certainly not small. 191 pounds. He's got enough arm length for probably most teams to feel comfortable with him being a move Z. You can align him in the Z position off the ball, right? Outside receiver, you can align him at slot as well. Move him around. I don't think he's a traditional X by any stretch of the imagination, but good football player. I'm hearing buzz that maybe he needs to be drafted ahead of My wide receiver one, which is Luther Burden, the third, who I do have in front of Tez. Excuse me. I do have him in front of Tez, but I also have him in front of Tetero McMillan, T-Mac, who I love. I love T-Mac. But you look at Luther Burden, 6 feet tall, 206 pounds. So, again, we're comparing Luther Burden and Matthew Golden. 6 feet tall, 206 pounds, 31 and a quarter arms. He's got 15 pounds on Matthew Golden. He's got a lot more arm length, right? He's got an inch in height. 4.41 40-yard dash at 206. That is really good number for him. That's the type of number I expected from him. And then you look at his gauntlet and his on-field work, and he looks fantastic. And you look at the tape, and he never drops anything. He is used in a variety of different ways, getting the ball in his hands quickly. What you want to see him develop is more of the route tree. But I caution folks against, when you see somebody with this type of physical profile and the great hands and the explosiveness, just because he didn't do it in college doesn't mean he can't do it at the NFL level. You have to figure out why he wasn't. I believe Missouri's offense didn't know what to do with him. That's my solid belief with Luther Burden. And I think if he lands with any sort of offensive coordinator, with any sort of competency, creativity, Luther Burden can be the steal of the draft if teams do not value him the way they should. I think he should be a top 10 pick. I think he's that good. Dynamic with the ball in his hands, drops nothing, whether it's easy catches with space around him or going up and getting contested catches. Incredibly explosive, fast, and powerful. 206. So, yeah, Luther Burden. I would take Luther Burden over Matthew Golden in a heartbeat. And that is not to slight Matthew Golden. I think Matthew Golden is going to be a very good football player in his own right. I think they both should be top 32 picks, obviously. And, would I be mad if the Jags take a Luther Burden in the first round? No. Is that the direction I would probably go, again, with the trench needs that the Jaguars currently have? Probably not. So I would most likely, what I would do right now is Mason Graham at 5 and then a receiver in the second round. And what receivers could you get in the second round? Obviously, maybe Emeka Egbuka, who you haven't seen test yet. Later on, Isaiah Bond. He was saying he was going to set the record. That obviously didn't happen. But he did run a 4.39, which is blazing. That is really fast. He is he's the type of guy that can control his speed, can throttle down, can move well in and out of breaks, adjust to the football better down the field than I thought Xavier Worthy did last year. I honestly think now, and I know there's been injury issues with Bond this year and maybe not the most locked in guy. I've kind of heard a little bit about that, but I only go based on what I can see on the field. I think Isaiah Bond still should definitely be in the round 2 range. And if you can steal him in round 3, absolutely. Looking at Jaden Higgins. My goodness. Jaden Higgins had himself a day. I'm really excited for him. This is the type of guy, if he's there at 36, I would take him. I would absolutely take him. 6'4", 214 pounds. And if you've been watching the show, I love Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. 6'4", 214. And of course, he's from Miami, so you love that. Florida boy. 33 and an eighth arms. 4.47 40-yard dash at 214. I honestly thought he was a 4.5 guy. Coming in at 4.47 with a 39-inch vert and a 10.8 broad. That kind of helps explain why he is able to get open so well at his size. He's a hell of an athlete. It's not just technical prowess. It's not just the ability to sink his hips, plant in the other direction, use his length and physicality with elbows and forearms to create some more separation before the catch point. He is a hell of an athlete at 6'4", 214. I'm tempted to have this guy, he should be in the first round with his athletic profile, production profile, and his overall level of skill at wide receiver. And to me, He's a perfect fit for what Trevor Lawrence needs. He doesn't drop anything, and he goes up and gets contested catches, and he's a great athlete. I mean, everything's kind of stacking up in Jaden Higgins' favor. If he's there at 36, I would love Mason Graham and Jaden Higgins with the Jaguars' top 2 picks. And I know people are going to be in the comment section saying, oh, well, we need corner, we need edge 3, we need interior offensive line. I agree. And I've talked about it. The Jags have a lot of cap flexibility. They need to be addressing corner, safety, and interior offensive line in free agency, in my opinion, and in the draft. So I just couldn't pass up on a guy like Jaden Higgins to help out Trevor Lawrence. He's never had a receiver with that level of ball skills outside of like Marvin Jones Jr. And Marvin Jones was in the twilight of his career, still playing some pretty good football for the Jaguars when he was here, but 2 different levels of athlete and of player, right? I think Alec Aomanor, really impressive as well. Kid out of Stanford. He's a Canadian, and he came in, I think he plays a little bigger than 206, but he came in at 206, 6'2", 206. Got some length, got some big hands. 4.44 40-yard dash. Very good. Not the fastest 10 split, so he's more of a long speed type of guy, which is fun at his size, right? But he is explosive. He does have some quick twitch movements, and I think you see that in the vertical jump and the broad jump as well, the instant explosiveness. The 1.58 10 split is a little bit of a weird addition to the testing results there. But overall, I think he has the ability to complement Brian Thomas Jr. at an extremely high level. I would not be mad if he is a Jaguar in the second round. Could you maybe trade down and land him still? Maybe. I don't know, though. Like, this is a hell of an athlete. Obviously, his arrow is pointing up as a Canadian who not a ton of experience. Only played 2 years. He's a redshirt sophomore, right? So I think his football arrow is pointing way up. I think that his best football is in front of him. I like his game a lot. So talk about a couple slot-only guys probably. And, maybe Jalen Knoll can move around the formation a little bit. But Jalen Knoll, a lot of fun, out of Iowa State. Jaden Higgins' teammate. Yeah, maybe, the Jags... Maybe they pull a Rams and go get Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins, right? You don't have to just do it up front on the defensive line. You could do it in the wide receiver room. So Jalen Knoll ran a blazing 4.39 40-yard dash. And he is 194 pounds. I think he plays a little bigger than that. He's pretty rocked up at 5'10" from Kansas City, Missouri. Shout out to my in-laws and my wife, born in KC. But she's a Jags fan, don't worry. 5'10", 194. 4.39 40-yard dash, 1.51 10 split, 41.5-inch vert, 11.2 broad, 3-cone drill of 6.82, 20-yard shuttle, 4.17. Yeah. Jalen Knoll is that dude. And he's maybe you could have him as a move Z / slot, but I think his primary usage, at least 60% of the time, 65, 70% of the time in the slot, and he's going to be a great slot player. Great player, I think. Some other guys that stood out to me or that I wanted to talk about, Tez Johnson did not have the fastest 40 time. He did not, right? 4.51, I believe. Yeah. So he came in at 154 pounds, 5'10". He's definitely a slot player. But 4.51 40-yard dash, not great. 1.53 10 split, very good. 37-inch vert, very good. 10-11 broad, excellent. The 3-cone drill and the 20-yard shuttle, 6.65 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle, 4.15. He's who I thought he was, and I think he's going to be a great slot receiver. Instant separation, instant quickness, explosiveness. If you line him up in the slot and you get him a free release, I don't think anybody's touching him. I really don't. I don't think anybody is going to be able to cover that guy. Kyle Williams, Senior Bowl standout, Washington State. He had himself a nice day. He absolutely did. 4.4 flat, 40-yard dash at 190 pounds, 5'11". So that's enough size to start talking about, okay, we can probably have him as a versatile piece, not an X, but a Z and a slot move type of guy. 4.4 40-yard dash, 1.55 10 split, 36.5 inch vert, broad jump 9.11. So he's got long speed and really impressive route runner. Given the ball in a variety of ways in the Washington State offense, count me in on Kyle Williams. Absolutely. And that's probably more of a round 3 type of guy. I also think Torrey Horton, 3rd, 4th round. Love his game out of Colorado State. 6'2 and a half, 196 pounds, 30 and 5/8 arms. He's got length to him. He's also got the ability to go up and get the football. He's got a big catch radius. 4.41 40-yard dash at 6'2. So, I mean, I like that, right? And a 1.53 10 split, 37.5 inch vert. I'm a huge fan of his game. I personally have a 3rd round grade on him. I think he's going to be a good complement to a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. Jalen Royals, a guy who was at the Senior Bowl, did participate, but was still coming off the foot injury, didn't quite 100% look himself. He came in 6 foot, 205. So that's kind of that Luther Burden type build, and ran 4.42 40-yard dash with a 1.49 10 split. 1.49 10 split is insanely explosive off the line. That is tied with Matthew Golden for the fastest. So that's instant explosiveness. That's instant separation for Jalen Royals. So very happy for him that he was able to do that. And then some guys that are, probably later round guys. Chimera Dike out of Florida. This is a guy, I don't know if I was talking about it on Duval Daily or on Rogue Football, which is my draft channel. So it's all draft all the time over there if you're interested in that sort of thing. Chimera Dike out of Florida, he had a really good Senior Bowl, and he can just fly. Ran a 4.34 40-yard dash at 6'1", 196 pounds, 32 and an eighth arms. So he's got length, he's got speed, he's got athleticism. 4.34 40, 1.51 10 split, 38.5 inch vert, 10.8 broad, 6.82 3 cone, 4.27 shuttle. The guy's an athlete, and I think you draft him on day 3, and he has the potential to be a really good wide receiver 3 for you, maybe even more than that. Ty Felton, another guy who can really run out of Maryland, and I think he got utilized a lot in the slot game and in the wide receiver screen game at Maryland. So that's somebody who maybe fits from a stylistic standpoint what the Jaguars might want to do. Liam Cohen's screen game has been on point. 4.37 40 at 6'1", 183, 1.51 10 split, 39.5 inch vert, 10.10 broad. Very, very impressive numbers. I think Ty Felton, probably a day 3 pick as well, could probably fit in with this group really well. Then a couple guys who a little bit, not the best 40 times for a couple of my guys who I really like. Pat Bryant out of Illinois by way of Jacksonville, Florida. Local kid, 6'2", 204. He talked really well at the podium, saying, no block, no rock type of attitude. So he's out here ready to block. So maybe toss the ball over to Brian Thomas Jr. and you got Pat Bryant out there leading the way for him on a screen. But he ran a 4.61, not great. Now, 1.56 10 split is better than the 4.61 40-yard dash, and the 37.5 inch vert, very good. The 10.4 broad is good. So there's a little bit of juice in the first 10 yards. He just doesn't really have that long speed. So I don't think that's like a death knell for his draft stock, but he is going to be a day 3 to undrafted free agent type of guy. I would like to see him in teal if they're able to get him late. And then Ricky White, my guy from UNLV, who I love his game. Another one, I talked about this specific thing. I thought his 10 split would be way, way better than his 40 because I think he creates instant separation and explosiveness, but I didn't really see the long speed down the field, and that's exactly what happened. I was hoping he'd run faster than 4.61 at 184 pounds, right? That's not great. 6'1", 184 running 4.61, but the 1.55 10 split is a lot better. The 36-inch vert is a lot better than the 40 time. So another one who has some instant explosiveness, but not really the numbers you're looking for overall for Ricky White, who he gets open off the line, and he's competitive at the catch point. I like Ricky White, so maybe another guy you could get really late. So that'll do it. Just wanted to look at these receivers with y'all. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe, and y'all have a wonderful Sunday.